media,
politics,
ethics.
contemporary issues. We'll be discussing them on this channel.
Welcome. Hey everyone, and welcome to our third episode of our podcast series, which is Media and Lifestyles. So today we will be talking about Brexit and an insight of the current negotiations between the EU and Britain. So, Deval, how do you feel about the current plan or lack thereof, since, we've only got around 6 months to finish this negotiation stage?
Yes, I think this has been a colossal failure. We have politicians in this country that get paid a lot. And really I think they've damaged the esteem of the UK, of Britain. And who steps in at some point? I mean, if I had the power to disband the parliament, this is really disgraceful that we haven't come up with a plan that either us can agree with or the European Union will take seriously. Seriously, this is really bad, Lewis, man. What's happening here?
Yeah, it is a bit of a mess at the moment. And, as we've seen, the Chequers deal has kind of been denied by the EU. And it's just really, no one really knows what's going to happen. A lot of people, don't even know about, what Brexit means. And it's just a very confusing topic. So we've got the customs union and the single market, which has been, the backbone of the UK for at least since we joined. Was it in like the 70s we joined?
Yeah, I think we were joined up about in the 70s. Yeah, that's right, Lewis. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so in the 70s. It's just very, no one knows what's going to happen. So whether it's a soft Brexit or a hard Brexit, something different is going to change. And if you've seen recently, the pound value, sterling, has dropped significantly. And yeah, it's, a very dodgy time for the UK. No one knows. And stuff like the customs union, it can be argued to be bad. So, like, for example, say if, like, a English producer of locally sourced, fruit and vegetables, they will find it hard to compete with, really low prices from, like, Spain and France. But say if we left the customs union, then, these tariffs would just put the prices of these products from other countries, which I don't know about the regulations on. But yeah, and we can start having better prices for like locally sourced fruit and vegetables, and yeah, so prices would change. So, Deval, what do you think of the customs union?
I think the customs union has done great things for Britain, despite what anybody want to say. Those on the Brexit side will say, oh, we want to leave because we're going to have a better deal, blah, blah, blah. Listen, yeah? The point is, even if we can leave and have a better deal, we have some very inept politicians who cannot put together a good enough plan or a deal to bargain with anybody with. Yeah, in the UK, there's no politician who can agree on anything. We have the Canada kind of style deal people talking about, and then we have the Chequers deal that everybody's laughing about. That's disgraceful. Where's our head of state? Where's the Queen? When Britain is being laughed at on an international stage, where is the Queen? Where does she step in and say enough is enough? I'm beginning to think, are we, like when I look at the whole process of this, are we even living in a democracy? Because we have the vote, yeah? This was put to us that if we want to leave Europe or if we want to stay in Europe, we had a vote and the people voted to leave. Why is it so confusing for politicians to interpret that? This is really, really this is really bad, man. Our politicians are really not on it. I don't like this.
True, and we have to face some really hard problems. For example, Good Friday Agreement. That is going to be such a complicated problem, and I can actually kind of see how it's going to be complicated, because we've got one side where it's like we would like to have open borders with Ireland since it's a very, close country and pretty much the only country that Britain borders. Okay. What is going to happen is either we're going to have to have some kind of hard borders, because we have to keep these regulations of the imports and exports from different countries. So yeah, and whatever happens, the Friday Agreement will probably have to get broken, because whatever side it is, someone's going to have a problem with it. Or maybe the England could get rid of Northern Ireland altogether. What do you think about this messy situation?
It's really a messy situation, because at the end of the day, what really hurts me is that this is, we're now having Tony Blair dip into the Brexit situation and giving advice. The last time Tony Blair gave this country advice, we ended up going to war in the Middle East on wrong information. We ended up messing up the Middle East. We ended up increasing immigration to the EU and Britain. We end up giving birth or giving foothold to far right movements in this country that never would have had that kind of a footing in Britain. Yeah, so this guy comes on and he starts talking. That's when we know we're in deep, deep trouble. When Tony Blair is beginning to influence how the Brexit situation will go. And people might say, oh, Tony Blair is just talking. But trust me, there's a lot of people who Tony Blair really talks to and who are listening and who will willingly act and move his way. Tony Blair is basically on the EU side of all of this. At the end of the day, we need to look at it to say, listen, we did vote to leave. We might have some hard times, but I think we need to take hard decisions, man. We need to take hard decisions. And we cannot look this unprofessional on an international stage. Who is going to take us seriously going forward? Say we leave the EU now and we go on WTO, or we go on and we try to bargain with other people. They'll just take us for a joke. We'll take us for like runovers. We need to draw the line somewhere and just start. So listen, this Brexit, either we're going to Brexit or we're going to stay in. But we can't have 20 different kind of scenarios happening. And you know what? We pay these people so well. They're supposed to be smart people. They're supposed to be the people who set this thing properly for us. Like, I don't know, if I was the Queen, I would disband Parliament. Where's the other state in all of this? Who does the refereeing in all of this?
Yeah, unfortunately, international interventions pretty much never really works out. And another thing that Donald Trump actually did I'm not too sure actually now. I think it was like the other week or something, where he bombs somewhere in Syria, and it was actually the government, which technically speaking we are kind of on their side, because they're the ones who are fighting ISIS. They're just messing it up, and especially what happened in Afghanistan, where America went in, and it just doesn't seem to anything has changed really. What do you think?
Yeah, seriously, like there's nothing that's really. We in the Western world go on about democracy and all this kind of thing. And, everybody that you speak to, like all the radio analysts, all the TV analysts, when they talk about Brexit, they start bringing in pros and cons and all this kind of thing. When are we all going to recognize that we voted to leave the European Union and we just need to come up with a serious plan and a decision of exiting? Yeah? We cannot continue to do this where we try to fathom up some crazy thing. I think a lot of the Brexiteers aren't really serious about things. Every one of them you speak to, they'll tell you that if we were supposed to exit the European Union without a deal, there'll be hardship for Britain. When they say hardship, it's not really the elite people who will get you the hardship. It's probably the middle class and the lower class people in this country will feel it the most. So we have a bunch of elite people elite politicians going around talking about hard Brexiting without a deal. Yeah. If that ever happens, they will not really feel it they will not, it probably won't have an impact on them at all because they have resources to deal with anything. They're not living, they're not nearing poverty, they're not on any poverty line or anything like that. You see, when you hear them, these guys, what they call these ones that come up and they talk so posh and nice and all this kind of thing, it's because they don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These guys, they have their money, they have all these things. They're aware, they're probably even now going around corners making secret deals with all these because they have access. These politicians, they have access to big businesses and so they can make all these kind of secret deals and they'll be all right. But the middle class people and the poor class people in this country will feel it. And I'm talking for somebody who is for democracy. We've voted to leave, and I think that's what should happen. But I know what will happen is people like myself and the middle class and poor people will feel it the most. Not the politicians who have access to big businesses and can make big money and big deals behind the corner. They won't feel it. I think this is all a big business money-making deal for some people, and they're not thinking about the country overall.
Yeah, but at the same time, I would agree with you, but then at the same time, anyone who will work at the Parliament and will make big press headlines, they're always going to be have quite a lot of money. So I feel like even if, say, a middle class person got exposure, they probably end up getting rich as well. So I feel like you can never really, do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do understand, but I'm just saying, listen, we need to start voting wisely, people. Because you can see for yourself, these politicians that we vote in very regularly. There's some MPs who've been in Westminster for donkey ages, yeah? And this is what they come up with. Theresa May has been in Westminster donkey ages. Boris Johnson in Westminster donkey ages, yeah? A lot of these people, they're there for donkey ages. We need to start changing people. We need to start voting wisely. We need to start moving these people out, yeah? Because they have too much power. And when it comes down to making some intelligent choices for people, we vote for them to represent us. They can't do it. They don't seem to have the intellect to do it, to think about something and to come and present the country with something for. So listen, all I'm saying is that I'm not really I'm saying that, listen, if the Prime Minister was to say, okay, listen, if we were supposed to leave Europe, we'll fall off the cliff. She should be able to sit everybody down and just tell us what the plan is, or to point out the factors, or to show us, listen, Lewis, you gave the example about the farmer trying to trying to sell and being competitive with the apples. Yep. The Prime Minister should be able to come forward, put this out, put some examples to the country to say why we need to stay why we need to stay in the custom union and the single market. She should be able to give us example, if we were supposed to leave, we wouldn't be competitive and our goods wouldn't get bought, and then we would have to be. She should be able to present some nice example to us so that we can really see. But what she's presenting is just going around on what they call these morning news shows and saying, this bloody, what they call it, this checkers deal is the only deal. No,
it's not.
No, what did I say? There's no substance to what they're talking about. Boris Johnson comes up with the Canada style deal or whatever it is. No substance, 4,300 words. I mean, nothing of substance. I mean, we need to really vote these people out, people. That's my answer to it. We need to vote them out. We need to get an election going out, vote them out, and get some people who will come in and do some work.
Yeah. But we also need to make a better plan, as you said, substance, and also we need to, keep our skates on, because we've only got, till March 2019. And, back to the voting stats. So the vote was around 2 years ago, was it?
Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
And Leave won by 3%. So it was 51% Leave and 48% Stay. So it was a clear victory. But obviously, as most of the time, it was quite close. And of course, at the end of the day, we voted Brexit. Now, I don't really like the people who come back to the the vote, the referendum, and say that we need a second vote. We've already decided we're going to leave, so that's out there. And secondly, this hard Brexit, soft Brexit thing, I'm not too sure about it, because at the end of the day, if we're going to leave, maybe we should actually try and properly leave the customs union, and also the single market, because we voted leave, so why should we have this soft Brexit? It seems like a cop-out, kind of, to me. But also then, at the same time, you've got to understand that, technically speaking, we are going to leave the EU. So whether or not we keep the customs union or the single market, technically speaking, we will leave. So I reckon the referendum was more about whether we are actually going to leave or not, whether or not we're going to, because we're still geographically really near in Europe and are really near EU countries. So what do you think about like the soft Brexit, hard Brexit scale?
Yeah, I think definitely. I don't think the UK survived under hard Brexit. Yeah, period. But let me just say one thing. My answer to that is, despite everything I've said about politicians in this podcast, there's one politician that I think that everybody need to give a chance, and that's Jeremy Corbyn. He's the one politician who comes out and say to us consistently, we need to have a deal where we stay in the custom union and we need to stay in the single market, yeah? But we also need to honor the vote that the people made. He's the only politician who has consistently said that. And I know in his party they're split and all that kind of thing. So, but Jeremy Corbyn is... And let me just go on beyond Brexit. Any person who is middle class or is lower class in this country, or is working class person in this country, vote for anybody else except Jeremy Corbyn. When you're suffering 10 years down the line or anything like that, I just don't want to hear it. Yeah? This is the one man who comes out with policies that are targeting equality, targeting her staying or having remaining contact with the European Union and maintaining all the benefits of the European Union. This is the man who wants equal pay, who wants us to be able to protest and all this kind of thing. So if there's a general election and it's won and Jeremy Corbyn loses because working class and middle class people didn't vote for him, I just don't want to hear further on about anything else, because you have a person who is like dedicated themselves to making sure that you were considered or you are being thought of. Yeah? So that's all I've got to say. But in terms of Brexit, coming back to Brexit, we definitely don't need a hard Brexit. We definitely need the softest Brexit. We do need a deal. And we do need to continue to have all the benefits we do have in the European Union.
Yeah, and finally, I would just like to ask about what you think about maybe, say if we did have a harder Brexit and we left the customs union at least, then possibly we can change our deals. And currently, some would say that we don't have the best trade deals with countries like China and USA, and the America. We have a very good relationship with them, and I feel like we could make a very good deal. And we're already under strict regulations by the EU, and taxes and whatnot people are paying for EU bills. So yeah, and also about international tensions, how maybe if there was a war or something, we'd be less protected by Europe. So, last minute, what do you think?
Yeah, I think people brandish around making deals here and there. Listen, we're part of Europe now, yeah? We are part of the conversation. So if the EU, for example, wanted to go out and make a deal with China, they would have to include us in the discussion, include us in the planning of that. We have our say in it. So it's not like we are like just here, like not having a part or anything to do with how the EU runs. We are a big part of. We have a say in how the EU is run. So I think that's just like people trying to make their point, trying to say all these things. I think it's really, really like people just need to like just grow up. We are part of the euro. If there's a deal to make, we are participating in that. And what else? That's really what it is. We're not like slaves to the European Union at all. I don't think so.
Well, this has been a very interesting insight of, our opinions on, kind of our opinions, not my opinion, but I feel like we've covered not most of it, but at least half of the topics. Now, I'd just like to say, just before we wrap this up, is I feel like we should definitely have another podcast on this because it's a big issue and there's so much to talk about. We've probably only talked about half of the things, haven't we?
I think we only talk about quarter, so yeah, we should have another one.
Yeah, and so thanks everyone for watching this far in the podcast. If you have, thanks for downloading it, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing to our YouTube channels. And so check us out. My YouTube channel is Warwick Games 2003, and Franklin Duval, that's his YouTube channel, Franklin Duval. So search it up and you'll be able to see our content. We'll see you all in the next episode, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.